This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
I think you ought to keep it don't ask, don't tell the way it is, because I think a lot of guys would have issue with it.
Trans people will be in the military no matter what. Them being allowed to serve openly will create it to be safer.
Mixed reaction across the Suncoast to a major change in military policy announced by President Trump. He says transgender individuals will no longer be allowed to serve in the military in any capacity. But will this tweet actually become policy? And could legal challenges stand in the way? Good evening, I'm Haley Wilgus. Alan is off tonight. We'll have more on transgender military service coming up, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. We begin tonight in Bradenton, where a suspect is finally set to face justice in a murder that was committed 4 years ago. The Manatee County Sheriff's Office, in collaboration with other agencies, is arresting 28-year-old Andres Callazos. He was the former boyfriend of the victim, 30-year-old Yasmin Catano, who was found dead in her Bradenton residence in 2013. Callazos fled to Colombia days after Catano's murder. He was finally arrested after trying to flee Colombia.
We've been working with the authorities down there and the FBI trying to track him down, and finally that was done, and yeah, we're quite happy. He's being charged with murder, and we do have physical evidence that links him to the crime, so we think we've got a very solid case here.
It's not known when Callazos will be returned to Manatee County to face charges. New developments on the conviction of triple murderer Andres Avalos Jr. in Manatee County. Avalos is taking a plea deal for attempted murder of a fellow inmate while awaiting his trial at the Manatee County Jail. As part of the deal, 15 more years were added to 3 life sentences he already has. In May, Avalos was found guilty of first-degree murder in the shootings of his neighbor Denise Potter and Reverend James Tripp Bannell. He was also found guilty of second-degree murder for killing his wife, Amber Avalos. He was sentenced without the possibility of parole. Now to the latest on a disturbing video of a small shark being dragged across the water. The viral video is causing outrage in not only the fishing community, but the community at large. Florida Fish and Wildlife is investigating. Today, in a statement, the agency says it has identified the individuals in this video. Their names have not been officially released. One shark expert at Mote Marine just hopes the animal was dead before it was dragged.
This was torture, plain and simple. I mean, there's no doubt that that animal was in distress. It couldn't breathe properly that way if it was still alive.
FWC has not said what charges could be brought against those involved in this incident. A follow-up on a homeless man attacked by an alligator in Port Charlotte. 68-year-old Frederick Iman is still recovering 3 days after the attack. He says he had just finished bathing in a pond when a 9-foot alligator attacked him from behind. He was able to escape, and he walked to a nearby surgery center where employees called 911.
I was kind of in agony. This is, you're having a nice day one minute, and the next minute you're, a bloody mess.
Iman lost an index finger, 2 toes, and suffered injuries to his groin. He plans to return to Port Charlotte after his treatment. Now to Venice, where there are concerns about safety over a major road construction project. In November, voters approved $18 million for road work in the downtown corridor. Now, some worry it could lead to fewer parking spaces in the congested city. There's also concern about drivers not being able to see pedestrians at intersections. However, the city council is trying to keep people safe by adding new stop signs.
With stop signs, we're not required to remove any of those additional parking spaces, but we will increase some of the concrete bulb outs, and there will be some spaces lost near crosswalks where the visibility just wasn't far enough so that you could see a pedestrian coming out to the road.
The project is set to break ground in April, and it will take 6 months to complete. A plan to add 2 new swimming pools to a complex in North Manatee County is moving forward. The county is collaborating with the city of Palmetto on the project at Lincoln Park. One pool would be for competition, while the other would be for instruction and therapy. The estimated cost of the project is around $3 million. A name has not been chosen for the complex, but one county commissioner is suggesting it be named after late Snooty, the manatee who died. died on Sunday. The mooring field in Sarasota Bay is dotted with boats throughout the year, but now some residents are complaining about them being abandoned and they are demanding action. Normally, abandoned boats would be tagged for removal. However, that's on hold while the state fights a class action lawsuit on the matter. However, the answer isn't sitting well with some residents who say the bayfront needs to be cleaned up.
I don't see that it's a temporary issue. We're seeing the same boats month after month. We're seeing the same trash. We're seeing boats that don't even look like they're ready to go in the water or could go in the water.
City officials say they're looking into the concerns. We'll have more on this story tonight at 11. And for now, we're going to get a check on our weather and head over to Bob in the Weather Center.
Haley, right now there's some big storms around, only in isolated areas though. A wind gust up to 51 miles an hour occurred just about an hour ago near Port Charlotte as a result of the storms kind of blowing up there, but not much in Manatee County. Have to keep an eye on the outflow boundaries from the ones near just south of Wauchula right now. But there's that one cell. It's been rather active just north of Punta Gorda. We'll take a look at that, closer look, showing quite a few lightning strikes with that near Port Charlotte, US 41, south and east of Northport, showing that cell. Not really moving all that much. There's that storm report. It happened just around 6:05 this evening. Weather Home Station reported a wind gust of 51 miles an hour. And the storms, I said, are not moving all that much. It's pretty much stationary. We saw this same scenario played out yesterday over Arcadia, and they got 2 inches from it. This could be the case again tonight, right there between I-75 near Veterans Boulevard and also Murdoch and Port Charlotte. So that storm is stuck right there and producing some heavy rainfall. Heat index at the airport there at Sarasota Bradenton Airport currently 89 degrees and feels like 97 out there. The pressure and 30.01 inches. Temperatures statewide into the 70s there in Jacksonville, so some showers cooling things down there. But still warm here, 89, and it feels like 97 at the Sarasota Bradenton Airport, 100 in Key West. And temperatures, again, still very warm in Mayaca City, Northport, at least it feels like, Wauchula at 103, and 97 in Inglewood, 101 in Sebring. Well, the dry air is still in place, but we are starting to see a little bit of increase in moisture availability. Not much, just a little bit, and that means don't anticipate a lot of rain tomorrow either. We'll have the complete details on the rest of the week's forecast and into the weekend just a little bit later. Haley?
Thank you, Bob. Still to come, President Trump is citing, quote, tremendous medical costs and disruptions for his decision to bar transgender people from the military. It's prompting national and local reaction. We'll have the details when we return.
Looking for something fun to do on a Friday night? Then come to Music on Main, the first Friday of every month at Lakewood Ranch. Enjoy free live music, dancing, great food, and lots of fun for every family member, even the furry ones. Meet up with friends, enjoy activities for the kids, or make it a special date night. And be sure to stop by the ABC7 booth and say hello. Mark your calendars for Music on Main, first Friday of the month, 6 to 9 at Lakewood Ranch. Brought to you by ABC7 and these sponsors.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-685-6422, 800-685-6422.
You studied hard, went to college, and achieved your dream, but it turned into a financial nightmare. If you have federal student loans and you'd like to reduce your payments, get more time, or have your loans completely eliminated, then we have good news. With one call to Student Loan Relief Services, you can find support and guidance. We've already helped thousands of people, and we can help you too. If you have $10,000 or more in federal student loans, you can qualify for payment extensions, payment reductions, options. Or you may qualify to have your federal student loan completely forgiven. Call Student Loan Relief Services now to find out about your options. Take control of your finances and get out from under this burden. One of our student loan experts has the answers to your questions and great solutions to ease your financial burden. We're here for you. Call Student Loan Relief Services now.
Call 800-759-0203, 800-759-0203.
Start your day with a new Good Morning Suncoast team. Weekdays starting at 5 a.m.
President Trump announcing today on Twitter that transgender people will no longer be able to serve in the U.S. military in any capacity. The surprising announcement comes after the Trump administration delayed enacting the Obama-era policy that allowed openly transgender people to join the military. ABC7's Jess Dowdrick has that story.
Just last year, the Obama administration approved a policy allowing the transgender community to openly serve in the military. It was a year-long review process that just last month the Trump administration delayed implementing. Then today, the surprising announcement comes to take away transgender rights from what some argue is the largest employer of transgender people in the country. The LGBT community is outraged.
He dehumanizes the very people who have pledged to risk their lives for our country and the values that our nation stands for: freedom.
However, some veterans are supporting the decision to keep transgender individuals out.
I hope that people stand behind Donald Trump and what he's doing.
Contrasting views and opinions sweeping the nation after Americans woke up on Wednesday to a series of tweets from President Trump. He says, after consultation with my generals and military experts, please be advised that the United States government will not accept or allow transgender individuals to serve in any capacity in the U.S. military. Our military must be focused on decisive and overwhelming victory and cannot be burdened with the tremendous medical costs and disruption that the transgender in the military would entail. Thank you.
And based on consultation that he's had with his national security team, came to the conclusion that it erodes military readiness and unit cohesion, and made the decision based on that.
The military community is standing behind President Trump. Sarasota's VFW releasing a statement saying in part, quote, "We support our commander-in-chief, the Department of Defense, and others in our chain of command."
I think it would affect the spirit to core, and it would be counterproductive.
Local veterans welcoming the return to the prior policy.
You got to keep it, don't ask, don't tell, the way it is, because I think a lot of guys would have issue with it, you know, in close quarters and, you know, using the restrooms and the same bathrooms and everything.
On the flip side of the coin, the local LGBT community calls this a step back for equal rights for all Americans.
Just like any service member, a trans person is going to need medical care. You know, would we turn away a service member because they have asthma? It's just a part of that person.
A 2016 RAND study estimates between 1,300 and 6,600 active duty transgender people. The same study estimated between 30 and 140 hormone treatments for service members each year, along with 25 to 130 gender transition-related surgeries.
You know, not every trans person wants surgical interventions.
Healthcare is estimated to cost between $2 and $8 million, while it's reportedly an exceedingly small portion of total healthcare expenditures, according to the study.
Trans people will be in the military no matter what. Them being allowed to serve openly will create it to be safer, and it will put more control into that individual's hands, who has what information.
According to ABC News, the staff at the Pentagon seemed caught off guard by the president's tweets today. A spokesperson at the Pentagon says that he's working with the White House to address what he calls the new guidance from the president. Jess Dowdrick, ABC7, your Suncoast News.
Thank you, Jess. So what should we make of this shift in military policy by the Trump administration? We'll speak with representatives from Equality Florida and the Sarasota Republican Club when we return.
When it comes to drinking, what do you think moderation is? The U.S. Dietary Guidelines define moderation as up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. So what's a drink? The guidelines say a drink equals 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or a cocktail with 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. Each contains the same amount of alcohol. Like to learn more? Visit drinkinmoderation.org.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline Matter.
And I'm Ray Collins. A new study looks at the risk factors for dementia.
We'll tell you what experts say you can do to strengthen your brain now for later on in life. That's tomorrow on Good Morning Suncoast. John?
Well, dry weather continues here on the Suncoast, and of course, dry weather means hot conditions. So when will the cooling rains come? Let you know.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you.
My name is Haley. I have Fragile X syndrome. I work with Chartwells at Einstein's and FAU. I like being up front and interacting with students. The students are very nice and very hungry. Having a job is a big ticket for independence.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to disabilitieswork.employflorida.com.
I am a veteran. My victory was finding the strength to be a champion.
My victory is having a job I can be proud of.
At DAV, we help veterans get the benefits they've earned.
My victory was finishing my education.
My victory was getting help to put our lives back together.
DAV provides veterans with a lifetime of support.
My victory is being there for my family.
Help us support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
There was this big bruise on my friend's face. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to think her own nephew could have hit her.
I didn't want to see it. My mother's bank account was emptied, and a caregiver had taken control of it.
I didn't want to see it. My father's refrigerator. There was hardly anything in it. That's unusual for him.
It's tough to see that a senior citizen is being abused, physically, emotionally, sexually, or financially. Elder abuse is a crime.
So see the signs. Stop the crimes.
Welcome back. Allowing transgender individuals to serve in the military is an issue that has gained national attention in recent years. Just last year, President Obama announced his administration would allow transgender people to serve their country openly. It came amid a debate on Capitol Hill over whether the Pentagon should pay for medical treatment related to gender transition. Perhaps the most visible example of this was Army Private Chelsea Manning. She was convicted in July of 2013 for violating the Espionage Act. An outspoken advocate for transgender rights, she went on a hunger strike during her incarceration to demand gender confirmation treatment, and the Army complied. According to the National Center for Transgender Equality, there are more than 134,000 American transgender veterans and at least 15,000 transgender people actively serving in the military. So what does today's announcement mean for those service members? Joining us for more is Nathan Bremer, a member of the advisory board for Trans Action Florida, Gina Duncan, Director of Transgender Equality for Equality Florida, and Rod Thompson, President of the Sarasota Republican Club and founder of the RevolutionaryAct.com. Thank you all for being with us. And what I want to do is just go down and get everyone's first initial reaction to the tweets that came out from the president this morning.
I was surprised. It was a bit shocking. I mean, we've heard announcements of policy over Twitter from the president before, but this is a significant shift, especially in light of recent legislation moving forward in the last few days, voted on positively by Republicans, supporting transgender troops. It's a strong 180.
All right, Gina?
Same in the fact that not only was it surprising and alarming, but the delivery was certainly interesting in the fact that, you know, this is the way we govern now. This is the way we learn policy now, is through tweets. We saw the administration already having to circle back and start wordsmithing what's going on and coming together in reference to what the official position is for the administration. So it not only was a heinous announcement, but it was also very ill-delivered.
Okay, and Rod, your reaction?
Well, I disagree on the quality of the announcement. I agree with the policy, but this is another classic case of Trump doing the right thing the wrong way. He does this on a consistent basis. He was doing everything fine. He had Mattis, he had the whole team investigating it, looking into it, seeing if this was something they wanted to do, if they wanted to adjust it or whatever. Mattis has definitely been emphasizing getting back to making it a war-fighting machine and all. Then Mattis is on vacation, and in the morning he tweets out a whole change in policy. It's like, oh, come on. It's very frustrating to watch. Well, obviously, we'll discuss the merits of the policy as the show goes on.
Right.
But my reaction is like, yeah, I didn't see it coming, but should have.
And why do you think he's choosing this route? Is this being supported by maybe some of his staff members, or do you think they're feeling the way you're feeling and saying, why are you putting these tweets out right now?
Gosh, it's really hard to get in the president's head. But I don't know for sure, because during the campaign, he was actually very transgender friendly. And he, he slammed the North Carolina bathroom law, and I disagreed with him on that. But he was that. But I think Mattis and maybe a lot of the others were having some influence on him. What triggered him this morning, I don't know to do it, but it looked like he was probably going to be trending this way all along. I don't think it's from his family, because his family is socially liberal as a rule, so I doubt that it's family-wise.
I was going to ask you about that. Of course, we'll get more into, like you said, the merits of it. But I do want to ask you that on the campaign trail, he was very adamant about supporting the LGBT community. So then you get this announcement, and I think a lot of people in the community are thinking, what is going on?
Right, and that would be reasonable enough. But this is maybe one of the few respects in which Donald Trump acts like a normal politician. He says one thing on the campaign trail and then does something different in office.
Right, okay. And we have real quick, just 30 seconds left, but Nathan, did you expect something like this after President Trump on the campaign trail had been supportive?
I think there was some indication that, yes, we could see policies coming back, and we've consistently seen policies rolled back. I'm surprised for this policy, because other folks that have been advising him have let him know that this policy that's in place is good. We just need to get the details hammered out. That was supposed to be the next step.
Okay, we are just getting started with this conversation. We'll pick right back up after a check on our forecast.
Are you Goodwill?
Yes, because when I donate
or shop at Goodwill,
I am creating a job. I am Goodwill, yeah.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
This is an important medical announcement. Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to uncontrollable bleeding and even death. If you've been prescribed one of these drugs and have experienced these dangerous side effects, you may be entitled to substantial compensation. Studies show that Pradaxa can cause more heart attacks than warfarin, and other countries have already issued safety warnings against this drug. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. The call is confidential, there's no cost, and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to Pradaxa victims, and thousands of Xarelto victims are filing their legal cases. Call the Drug Watch hotline. If you or a loved one used Xarelto or Pradaxa and experienced uncontrollable bleeding, brain hemorrhage, or even death, you must call now.
Call 800-793-6055. 800-793-6055.
Our discussion of transgender individuals serving in the military continues in just a moment, but right now let's get a check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Thanks, Haley. Things starting to change just a little bit into South Sarasota and into Charlotte counties. There's some rain, some storms around. Not much at Lakewood Ranch, though. A review of the tower cam there showing some clouds blowing off from the inland storms in their direction. But all in all, it has been rain-free and should be so again tomorrow. Now, there's a pretty good line, something we haven't seen in a couple of days, that has developed anywhere from just southeast of Orlando all the way through Hardee and DeSoto counties and now down into Charlotte County. One storm in particular, we talked about it earlier, produced a wind gust up to 50 miles an hour. And this is the storm right here, but it is weakening. It's not making much progress toward the southwest right now. It's kind of hung up right there, so it's producing a lot of rainfall. You'll see over an inch, inch and a half right there. And then this one is getting a little bigger here in southwestern portions of Hardee County and DeSoto counties. Both those counties getting some heavy rainfall right now. And this one, we'll take a look at it, I-75 Veterans Boulevard. Not much lightning now, and that's a good indication that this storm is weakening after producing some fairly heavy lightning just about a half hour ago, and winds gusting as high as 50 miles an hour. Just to the east of Mayaca Head, another cell popping up there, so something finally to talk about. We haven't had much over the past couple of days, which is unusual. Typically this time of year, this time of night, big storms are firing up along the sea breeze front. But as a result of a high-pressure ridge that isn't really moving much, it's going to stay the same tomorrow. 89 right now, still feels like 97 at the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport. The high today was above average, 93. Our average high at 90, the record 97, and this morning's low was warm, 77. Could use a little bit of rainfall. We're below average, nearing almost 2 inches for the month and nearing 4 inches for the year. Wind flow will be very light and very variable over the upcoming days. Don't look for much of a strong wind, anywhere from 5 to 10 miles an hour with that sea breeze developing in the afternoon and evening. Well, the hourly forecast calls for similar conditions. One thing to note, though, temperatures will warm up real quick in the morning due to the lack of rainfall. That sun's energy after sunrise will really heat the land up and heats the air up very quickly. If there's rain the night before, it uses that energy to kind of evaporate that moisture that's been around, but that hasn't been the case as of late. Futurecast indicating that the storms tonight more than likely dying out and then pushing off to the northeast. Little weak frontal system comes down, pulls up stationary. That keeps that high pressure ridge right over the top of us. And with that in play, it means limited shower activity through Thursday and even into Friday. For boaters tomorrow, northwest winds turn to the west at 5 to 10 knots. Mostly smooth out there for boaters. Tides upcoming 10:46, and that's a low tide. Another low tide at 10:19 tomorrow. Sunset at 8:22. Partly cloudy tonight, warm and sticky. A few isolated, mainly inland storms. Otherwise, pretty quiet out there. 30% chance for late day storms tomorrow. 90 for your high. I mentioned the increasing chances for rain begin over the weekend and really pick up on Sunday. Haley will be back with her guests coming up just after this.
Attention! Royal Seas Cruises has just announced their deal of the day, a $99 Caribbean cruise for 2 people. This amazing cruise deal to the Bahamas is only available to the first 500 callers who register in your area today. So get ready to write down this number and act fast. We know that the best type of traveler is a repeat guest, so we're offering this $99 Caribbean cruise to prove it. That's $99 per couple, including your stateroom, all your delicious meals, full spa, live entertainment, 3 kids clubs, and more. Come see why we were voted one of the top 10 best overall cruises by Cruise Critic. We're so sure you'll enjoy yourself and become a repeat customer that you're getting this deal of the day for the unbelievable low price of just $99 per couple. But you've got to act fast. Pick up the phone and be one of the first 500 callers to take the Caribbean cruise of a lifetime for just $99 per couple. Call right now or log on to royalcruisenow.com.
Call 800-906-0489.
Everything all right?
Actually, you know how Tom had knee surgery?
Sure.
We found out Brad's been taking his painkillers. And it turns out he's been doing it for a while.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
Designers do it with style.
Tell me what's going on here. Because
why, you don't like my hair?
The Mark and Mandy Show. In-depth design ideas.
What is up with the tuck tape here? Let's cover it up.
Amazing beauty and fashion tips.
So Halle Berry has amazing skin. Her secret is coffee grounds. No.
Delicious recipes.
Today, I'm gonna show you a special dish that is sure to please that special someone in your life.
Watch The Mark and Mandy Show right here on your favorite channel.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're discussing President Trump's announcement this morning saying the U.S. government will not accept or allow transgender individuals to serve in any capacity in the U.S. military. Our guests tonight are Nathan Bremer of the Trans Action Florida Advisory Board, Gina Duncan, Director of Transgender Equality for Equality Florida, and Rod Thompson, President of the Sarasota Republican Club. Now, Gina, I want to ask you what you think is detrimental about this policy.
Well, let's look at the facts. Currently, there's estimated over 15,000 transgender people serving in the military. Young people, service members who are protecting our country, who are risking their lives every day to protect our freedoms, and yet they're being affected by this heinous policy that's come out. And how will that affect the status of our military? The numbers? How will it affect their discharge situation? How will it affect their future benefits, their insurance, their pensions, things like that? A lot of loopholes, a lot of issues that do negatively affect the transgender community.
And Nathan, what would you say to people who say, okay, we don't want to discriminate, but also this could be an awkward situation. Some people aren't versed in how to deal with those who have gender identity issues, or maybe they are in locker rooms and they don't know how to react. Is it something that you would say just act normal, or how would you kind of explain that to someone who is feeling like maybe they support this policy because they feel strange in these situations?
Well, I think each organization or each culture, so in this case the military, has to approach their training of their troops in a very unique way. So that training may go a little differently. What we do know is that the military has already invested a lot of time and energy and created policies and procedures for how to enact the policy. It's already been in place for a year, as you mentioned, and they were just drilling down to the details to finalize. It got pushed back for 6 months. The bigger issue is that we've allowed members to serve openly for a year. You've had a lot of folks who are strong advocates partner with their commanding officers, be public, and now wake up this morning to their commander-in-chief completely invalidating their existence and their service. And that's amazingly disrespectful and amazingly harmful. I mean, we have always had transgender members in the military, as we always had lesbian and gay members, but it's about serving openly. So to do this in this fashion is a slap in the face to those folks who, as Gina mentioned, have been putting their lives on the line. There are folks right now, people that I know that are serving overseas right now, openly transgender, doing their job. They trained, they passed their certifications, they are defending liberty and democracy, and they woke up this morning to news like that that is it's just devastating. And they went out and patrolled and did their job for us in spite of it.
And Rod, what are you hearing on the other end of the spectrum, maybe from supporters, but also active military and veterans who are in support of this?
Right, so I would take the approach a little bit not from the transgender community's point of view, but from the military point of view. And from the military point of view, the purpose of the U.S. military is to destroy the enemy's capabilities to wage war against us. That's the sole purpose. That's why we have a U.S. military. And it's not really supposed to be a petri dish for social justice experimentation. I think President Obama made it that in a number of ways, and certainly in the last year of his administration, he took it further. I think that's a mistake. I think that that can undermine the ability of the Air Force or of the military to do that. Specifically, I know of a guy who was injured in Iraq, lost his arm, and he explained how he was in a 12-man fire base out in the middle of nowhere, about an hour's drive, probably crummy roads from anybody. They got food every 8 days. They went out on their patrols every day. He said it was an incredibly stressful situation. They had tracers at night. They had IEDs on their patrols. And the younger guys and those that weren't mentally tough and stable and emotionally strong were snapping all the time, and they had to periodically rotate them out. His point from his experience would be if you put somebody that's transgender in there, which to some degree, and they may disagree with this, on the face of it suggests somebody that's mentally and emotionally confused at the moment, if they're transgendering, if they're looking at that, if they're not sure that who they are, putting them in that super high stress situation clearly undermines the effectiveness of that unit, and so he would be very much opposed to it.
You know, and studies show that that's absolutely false. And the fact that the Department of Defense did a study last year that showed that units that did have transgender members in them did not experience any of those negative effects. It's also known that no one is more driven and focused than a transgender person. You think of going through transitioning from one gender to another, you have to be very focused and really want to be your true and authentic selves. And we've seen that transgender people serving in the military are some of the best and the brightest in the military.
Can I ask a quick question of Gina or Nathan? Specifically, I think when Nathan said serving openly as a transgender in the military, like in Iraq, I'm not really actually clear what that means when you say serving openly.
Like everyone in your unit knows.
It's just that people know
Yes.
that you're trans.
Yeah.
It's just that,
Yes.
right? There's no other differences in their actions. They're just aware that they're transgender because they've said it.
Because it's important to note that no two persons' transgender journey is the same.
Right.
Some people want surgery, some don't. Some come out at an earlier age or a later age. So it's just that the military actually should reflect the diversity within our culture and our society. And so there should be no reason that transgender people are not able to serve.
Let's circle back, though, to this particular statement. This statement was discrimination on its face, period. And all the arguments we're hearing about readiness, we heard it before we had desegregation, we heard it before women were allowed to serve openly, and we heard it before lesbian and gays were allowed to be served openly. So none of the statistics, none of the research supports that there's an issue. In fact, if you talk to people on the field that are serving with transgender troops and you talk to their commanding officers, they'll give you a very different story.
And I do want to point out, Rod, that several Republicans have come out in opposition to this, including just recently, I saw on Twitter just before the show started, Joni Ernst, who is a female veteran Republican, and she says she is against this policy. She doesn't agree with using taxpayer money for gender reassignment surgery, but she agrees that transgender people should be able to serve in the military. What is your response to many of these people in the GOP against this?
Right. The Republican Party is actually, in my opinion, is a party of more diverse ideas than the Democrat Party. We're not quite as monolithic in our thinking. However, I would say that still those numbers, that last vote that was referenced earlier, it was only like 20-some that crossed over. It's still, by and large, most all Republicans oppose it. There was the Congresswoman from Miami. It was a Republican. I'm sorry, I can't say her name right now, but we all know it. She has a son who's transgender. So she clearly has personal experience. It's clearly going to affect her opinion. That makes total sense to me. And so you can see that happening. But in my discussions with Republicans and conservatives, there's almost uniform support for this policy and severe opposition to what President Obama did 7 years into his administration.
Okay, but we have a minute left, and I just want you all to give us an opportunity to talk about a little bit about how you think people can be more comfortable with accepting this type of policy. Let's just say before, I think that's a lot of it. I think a lot of people are saying we're just not comfortable. How do we get comfortable with it?
And I think he actually sort of went in the direction that I would sort of encourage, that you may not know a transgender individual. And so as the Congresswoman in Miami has a family member, there are a lot of folks that are thinking about this policy sort of outside looking in without, one, understanding a military culture, and two, without really knowing a transgender individual. And what we have to realize and recognize that transgender Americans are living their life as we all are, members of our family, our co-workers, and trying to live out the American dream, which for some means serving their country because they are patriots, and they should have the right to do that.
We have an adage within Equality Florida that goes, we believe in being visible. Visibility will lead to awareness. Awareness will lead to education, and education will lead to equality and normalcy. People do fear what they don't understand. And once people are educated and know transgender people, this situation, this issue goes away very quickly.
Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we will have final thoughts from our guests. Plus, what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, that was the worst mosquito season to hit the Suncoast in years. We'll be right back.
I'm calling in regards about my mother, and I'm here, and I just want to thank you because it saved my mother's life yesterday. And I'd like to know the names of the people that came in and saved her. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
With Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-990-3613. That's 1-800-990-3613. Call now, 1-800-990-3613.
About every 3 minutes in America, someone is diagnosed with a blood cancer. Light the Night brings together survivors and supporters to bring light to the darkness of cancer and to help fund life-saving research. Our goal is a world without blood cancers, and we're lighting the path to cures. The discoveries made in blood cancer research have led to breakthrough treatments for many cancers and other serious diseases. Help defeat the darkness of cancer. Join Light the Night today.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
Welcome back. President Trump's announcement about transgender people serving our military even caught the Pentagon off guard. So when could we see a policy go into effect, if ever, and what kind of backlash would that face? Our guests are joining us for their final thoughts. And Rod, I do want to start with you kind of answering that question. Do you think that this will actually become a policy? What's the likelihood that we will see this actually go from tweet to true enactment?
I would say it's likely. I would say it's certainly more likely than not because, you know, the president's usually looking for a win. And since he came out strongly with it today and there was a lot of backlash, I'm not sure that he's going to be quick to back down. One thing the president does is he punches back. And I don't like the way he does it all the time, but he does that consistently. So I would actually give it pretty good odds of being enacted. And I'd also like to say that I understand the argument that it's discrimination, but we actually discriminate in the military in a number of ways. I mean, if you have ADHD, if you have mood swings, I think in the setup for it, asthma, I think that is a disqualifier. If these things you develop once you're in the military, then it's taken care of. But a lot of these things, last I knew, being nearsighted and flat-footed, there's a lot of ways we discriminate because we have a specific purpose for the military.
And I am glad you brought that up because that was in the story about asthma, and I thought, you know what, that could be one of the conditions that would exclude you depending on your, severity and treatment. But that's another issue. Okay, so Gina, if this were to be enacted, how do you think people in the community that you serve would react, and what will their main concerns be?
Well, there's a lot of concerns already. There's a lot of fear in the community. We were led down the road somewhat with the Trump administration that they would be somewhat supportive of the LGBTQ community. We're not seeing that. And we see, a situation of where does this end? Does it stop with the transgender community? Who is next? Who is next for them to come for? Will they then attack, gay people in the military? Will it then be Muslims in the military for the same reasons that Muslims serving in the military could be a distraction, could affect morale, things like that? So we're concerned of the long-term effects of this. We know that we're definitely under fire at this point. We're concerned. We hope that the community and the nation rises up and pushes back against this as they have against the health care propositions.
And Nathan, just to close out this segment, you have a unique perspective as a veteran yourself.
I do. I think there are two things that are going on here. One, there's a policy, it's a bad policy, it's discrimination. But I think the second piece to that is the way he went about delivering this message, because the consistent message from the White House has been, we don't have your back and we don't support you. Policy after policy has been backpedaled. I worry about that for the LGBT youth. I worry about that for folks who want to serve, who may go through, you know, and be gay or transgender and end up transitioning later on. It's the openly serving that has already been shown to be effective. Those folks that are in those jobs, as he mentioned, are qualified and trained and ready to serve their country. And that's who we need to be talking about, and they're serving right now, today, around the world.
All right, well, thank you for sharing your thoughts. And before we go, we want to share what some of our viewers thought about last night's topic, the mosquito season on the Suncoast. According to mosquito management officials, the drought conditions over the winter, combined with steady summer rains, have created ideal conditions for mosquitoes to breed. This season is just getting started, but luckily we've only had 6 locally transmitted cases of Zika virus compared to 285 cases last year. So we asked you what you think about the mosquitoes returning. Mary Beth Waltz writes, I've lived here for 20 years. Last year was the first time we had a problem with mosquitoes at our house. It looks like this year will be the same, if not worse. John Carpenter writes, I think that mosquito patrol within our government structure should be out spraying to combat this issue. So what do you think about transgender individuals serving in our military? You can join tonight's conversation by visiting our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. You can watch this discussion that we had here tonight or any past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. So thanks to all of our guests for being here tonight. Nathan Bremer is on the advisory board for Trans Action Florida. Gina Duncan is director of transgender equality for Equality Florida. And Rod Thompson is president of the Sarasota Republican Club and founder of the RevolutionaryAct.com. When we return, we'll have a final look at your weather, plus giving Florida's law enforcement officers another raise. Governor Rick Scott is asking for millions more to fund agencies like Florida Highway Patrol. We'll have the details in our primetime headlines.
This is important news for women who were administered chemotherapy intravenously for breast cancer and then suffered permanent hair loss. The chemotherapy drug Taxotere has been linked to permanent alopecia or permanent hair loss. Some women administered the breast cancer chemotherapy drug Taxotere have suffered from permanent hair loss on scalp, eyebrows, and eyelashes. The FDA has urged doctors and the manufacturer to warn women administered Taxotere of the risk of permanent hair loss. If you or a loved one were administered chemotherapy intravenously for breast cancer and suffered permanent hair loss, you may have a right to a cash award and medical expenses. If you suffered permanent hair loss after chemotherapy for breast cancer, call the law offices of Davis & Crump at the number below right now to find out if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now. Our first consultation is free, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now. Operators are standing by.
We're losing exotic animals on a daily basis, and the ones that we have in captivity are really the ambassadors for their wild counterparts. I'm Clayton Rozier from the Big Cat Habitat and Gulf Coast Sanctuary, housing over 150 exotic animals that needed a great home. And if you love animals, please help them. Do it locally. Support your local no-kill shelters, your local wild animal sanctuaries. Make a difference where you can.
Northland Outdoors is about so much more than the biggest fish or the hottest hunting spots. All across the Northland, there are amazing people with incredible stories to tell. We're going to find those stories and share them with everyone.
Join us each and every week as we explore the Northland and experience some of the most exciting outdoor adventures in the country right here in our own backyard. This is Northland Outdoors.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in just a moment, but right now, let's get a final check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Thanks, Haley. A little bit more activity this afternoon and evening. Not enough to help out, though. And we need the rainfall. We're going below average again, well below it, almost 4 inches for the year, just because of the drought, or at least the drought we've seen earlier this year, and also a little dry spell we're under. Near Wauchula, some heavier storms. We had this little line breakout. It's not enough to generate too much activity near the coast. We'll keep a less than 20% chance for a few of the outflow boundaries to do that, but the air is just a little bit too dry. We had one storm right there in Port Charlotte. It was there for about an hour, and then it rained itself out, and it's no longer there. There's a couple of other ones to the north and east of that, just to the west of Arcadia. You can see that along State Road 70 near, again, Lansing, just to the west of Lansing, some pretty heavy rainfall. And it is all not moving much. It looks like it will stay there and eventually rain itself out, like the one did in Port Charlotte, where they had estimated over an inch of rainfall in just a short period of time there. And currently at the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport, it's 89. Heat index is at 97 degrees, and we have sunshine. And as far as the wind forecast goes, it's not going to be all that strong, anywhere from 5 to 10 miles an hour throughout the day tomorrow. So not much of a breeze out there on the waters, with the water temperature at around 89, 90 degrees. We are going to continue to see some pretty warm conditions near the area beaches. And as far as the forecast goes hourly, it will warm up quicker tomorrow as a result of the lack of rainfall. Lots of sunshine. The rain chance coming up just a little bit at 30% for those late day showers and storms. And futurecasts indicating that all the rain that we're seeing right now will more than likely move off to the northeast and dissipate by 10, 11 o'clock tonight. And then little frontal boundary hangs to the north. And with that in mind, there's a chance to see a few coastal showers in the morning hours, and then mainly a few isolated cells building like we saw today in the interior portions of our viewing area and moving off to the northeast. Now, I think by the weekend we'll see a little bit better chance to see some more shower activity come back into play, especially on Sunday. Winds out of the northwest to west at 5 to 10 knots, mostly smooth in the bays and inland waters. And the water temperature, 89 degrees. UV index will be high at 11. Tides upcoming. Sarasota Bay low tide will be at 10:46 and a high at 4:32. Another low tide at 10:19. 8:22 on the sunset. Partly cloudy skies, warm and sticky. 79 for a low. That's not low. 90 for a high tomorrow. Warm and muggy conditions. 30% chance for storms and better chances for rain Saturday and Sunday, and especially into early next week. By the way, I want to say goodbye to a good producer here, Robert Sutton, who's taking off. Robert, good luck. Haley will be right back.
I heard about the Dotoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Dotoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was. I can tell you that you will not find a finer, more professional team of clinicians anywhere in the world.
This is an important medical announcement. Bard IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a Bard IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Bard Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential. There's no cost and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the Bard IVC filters. Call the IVC Filter Hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089. 800-329-3089.
Is your old garage door stuck or broken? Would a new one give you a lift? Let Precision Door Overhead Garage Door Service of Sarasota come to the rescue with prompt and affordable repair service. Replacement doors come with an array of styles and colors, and they are rated to meet and exceed Florida standards. From estimates to installation, your satisfaction is our priority. If you're not 100% satisfied with any product, service, or installation, we will make it right, because Precision Door Service is a name you can trust.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Yeah, I have questions.
Prescription drugs aren't as bad as street drugs, right?
Weed's legal, isn't it?
Drinking is worse than smoking weed.
Isn't it? Why
is heroin so addictive?
Molly just makes you feel happy.
I have questions.
Mom?
Dad, did you ever try drugs?
They're going to ask. Be ready. Go to drugfree.org. A message from Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Now to your primetime headlines, the showdown over health care continues on Capitol Hill. GOP members are still struggling to reach an agreement on a plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. ABC's Janae Norman has the latest from Washington.
President Trump urging Republicans to keep their promise to repeal and replace Obamacare.
Any senator who votes against repeal and replace is telling America that they are fine with the Obamacare nightmare.
But Republicans remain without a clear path forward. At this point, still without a health care bill that can get enough support to pass after the latest plan to repeal and replace died just hours into debate.
Ultimately, we want to get legislation to finally end the failed Obamacare status quo through Congress and to the president's desk for his signature. This certainly won't be easy.
And as Capitol Hill tries to overhaul health care, the president's Twitter feed may be overshadowing the process, announcing a major change to military policy through tweets that transgender individuals will no longer be allowed to serve in any capacity, even though thousands are reportedly already serving in the armed forces. The president also again taking aim at his own attorney general.
President Trump continues to find new ways to humiliate his own Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. Every American should be troubled by the character of his person who humiliates and turns his back on a close friend after only 6 months.
Today, senators will vote on a series of bills and amendments in hopes of making headway on their quest to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. Janae Norman, ABC News, Washington.
Here in Florida, Governor Rick Scott is calling for highway patrol troopers, wildlife officers, and law enforcement agents to get another pay raise. During this year's session, legislators agreed to give the state's nearly 4,000 sworn officers a 5% raise. Now Scott wants to set aside an additional $30 million for them in 2018. Scott says the money could be used to recruit and retain officers, but each agency would have discretion over how to use the funds. Scott will include the request in his upcoming budget recommendations. Legislators will consider it next January. The state certainly needs more officers to respond to a dramatic rise in the number of credit card skimming devices. State figures show more than 300 of them have been found at gas pumps this year. Compare that to just 120 found in the same period last year. Florida's Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services says the devices are quite lucrative for crooks.
We're seeing this all across the country, but Florida is a hotbed. You know, we do have more than 100 million tourists a year and a large population, so we do see this kind of as a hotbed in Florida.
You can avoid becoming a victim of skimmers by paying cash, using credit cards, and using pumps closest to the actual store. That's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Haley Wilgus. We'll see you back here at 11, but good luck to our producer, Rob, and happy birthday to our director, Dave.